The night settled in, casting the world outside into an inky abyss. The house was enveloped in a silence that was both comforting and unsettling. I found myself alone, a solitary figure navigating the quiet expanse of my home. The distant sounds of the outside world had faded into the darkness, leaving me with only the occasional creak of the floorboards beneath my feet. As I moved through the dimly lit rooms, a sense of unease began to take hold. An inexplicable feeling that I was not truly alone, that something lingered in the shadows just beyond my sight. I dismissed it as the product of an overactive imagination, the kind that often creeps up when you find yourself alone at night. But then, I heard it, a faint whisper, like a soft breath carried on the wind. I stopped in my tracks, my heart skipping a beat as I strained to hear. It was almost as if the walls themselves were speaking, their secrets escaping through the cracks and crevices. I held my breath, my senses on high alert, as I tried to make out the words. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, their cadence almost rhythmic. I strained to understand, my mind grasping at fragments of sentences, at syllables that seemed to dance just out of reach. It was as if a chorus of voices had risen from the very foundation of the house, their words a haunting melody that sent chills down my spine. I told myself it was just my imagination, that my mind was playing tricks on me in the solitude of the night. But the whispers persisted, their persistence a relentless reminder that something inexplicable was unfolding around me. It was as if the walls were alive with a presence that defied logic, a presence that was determined to make itself known. I took hesitant steps forward, following the sound of the whispers as they seemed to move from room to room. Each step felt heavy, each breath caught in my throat, as if I were intruding on some otherworldly conversation. And then, as I reached the center of the house, the whispers coalesced into words that sent a shiver down my spine. Misplaced trust, hidden pain, beware, the voices murmured, their tones filled with a haunting warning. My heart raced, and a sense of dread washed over me. What were these voices trying to tell me? What secrets lay within the very walls that surrounded me? I backed away, my steps quickening as I retreated from the ethereal voices that seemed to follow me. The house felt different now, its walls no longer a barrier of safety but a conduit for something beyond my understanding. I locked myself in a room, trying to escape the chilling echoes that reverberated through the halls. The night wore on, and the whispers eventually faded into silence, leaving me alone with my thoughts. As dawn broke and the first rays of sunlight crept through the windows, I emerged from my sanctuary. The house felt different now, its secrets lurking just beneath the surface. To this day, I can't shake the memory of those haunting whispers, the voices that seemed to emanate from within the very structure of my home. The experience left me with a profound realization, that sometimes, the walls themselves hold secrets that can send shivers down your spine and leave you questioning the reality you once thought you knew. The storm outside raged with a fury I hadn't witnessed in years. The rain hammered against the windows, and the wind howled like a tormented spirit. The flickering of the lights was a telltale sign that the power was on the verge of giving out. I huddled on the couch, my phone clutched in my trembling hand, the only source of connection to the outside world. As the lights finally blinked out, plunging my surroundings into darkness, a sense of vulnerability settled over me. The storm had cut off my link to the digital realm, leaving me alone in the confines of my home. I tried to reassure myself that it was just a power outage, nothing more. But then, the screen of my phone illuminated, casting an eerie glow on my face. I hesitated before answering the call from an unknown number, my heart pounding as I brought the phone to my ear. The voice on the other end was a distorted symphony of crackling static and eerie whispers, a chilling blend that sent shivers crawling along my skin. "Do you remember, secrets buried, forgotten sins?" the voice hissed, each word laced with an unsettling cadence. My breath caught in my throat, and I felt a knot of fear tighten within me. Who was this caller, and how did they know about secrets I'd kept hidden? The details they mentioned were buried deep within the recesses of my past, things I hadn't shared with anyone, things I had tried to forget. I stammered, my voice trembling as I asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" The voice on the other end responded with a sinister chuckle, a sound that seemed to reverberate within the very core of my being. "The past catches up, you can't escape, not anymore," the voice replied, each word seeping into my consciousness like a poison. Each call that followed was a relentless barrage of distorted whispers and unnerving phrases. The caller seemed to know intimate details of my life, the kind that I had locked away in the depths of my memory. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end, and a sense of dread settled over me like a suffocating shroud. I tried to trace the call, to find the source of these chilling messages, but each attempt proved futile. The storm outside seemed to mirror the chaos within me, its intensity matching the whirlwind of fear and paranoia that had consumed my thoughts. As the night wore on, each call left me more terrified, more isolated. I felt like a captive audience to a macabre performance, a one-sided conversation that felt like an intrusion into my very soul. And as the storm raged on, the phantom caller's voice mingling with the tempest, I was left with an unsettling realization, that sometimes, the darkness outside can't hold a candle to the darkness within, and the secrets we bury have a way of resurfacing when we least expect it. The clock on the wall ticked away the hours, the hands slowly edging closer to midnight. The house was wrapped in an eerie silence, the kind that only comes in the depths of the night. I found myself alone, the only inhabitant of a world that seemed to have retreated into the shadows. As I lay in bed, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, I noticed something odd, a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. I turned my head to look, and there they were, shadows dancing across the walls like living entities. At first, I dismissed it as a trick of the mind, a byproduct of fatigue and the late hour. But the shadows didn't relent. They moved with a purpose, shifting and writhing as if they had a life of their own. My heart began to quicken as a sense of unease crept over me. The room, once a place of comfort, now felt like a stage for something otherworldly. I blinked, rubbing my eyes to banish the strange vision. Yet when I opened them again, the shadows persisted, their movements growing more intricate and deliberate. I stared in disbelief, my mind racing to find a rational explanation. Maybe it was a trick of the streetlight outside, or perhaps a tree branch casting its form against the window. But then, as if in defiance of reason, one shadow detached itself from the wall. It slithered along the floor with an eerie fluidity, advancing towards me. Fear constricted my chest, and I was paralyzed, unable to tear my gaze away from the approaching darkness. The shadow seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, as if it were alive and sentient. It stretched and twisted, its movements hypnotic and terrifying. And then, with a sickening realization, I saw it, the shadow was reaching out, its form elongating as if it were extending an appendage toward me. My breath caught in my throat, and I wanted to scream, to run from the room and escape the sinister presence that had invaded my space. But my body was frozen, locked in place by a fear that gripped me like a vice. I could only watch as the shadow drew nearer, its touch an icy caress that seemed to seep into my very soul. And then, just as suddenly as it had approached, the shadow retreated. It slinked back along the floor, its movements becoming more erratic and jagged. It danced and twisted for a moment, a macabre farewell, before vanishing into thin air. The room was still once more, the shadows on the walls returning to their innocent dance. I sat there, breathless and shaken, my mind struggling to comprehend what I had just witnessed. Had it been a trick of the mind, a hallucination brought on by the late hour? As I pulled the covers tight around me, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had come face to face with something beyond explanation. The shadows, once my allies in the embrace of the night, had revealed a darker side, a side that left me questioning the very nature of reality. And as the darkness outside pressed in, I knew that some mysteries were best left untouched, hidden in the depths of the night.